Hello, Samuel and Gino's management team. My name is Anna Hernandez, and I will be presenting on the information gathered from the customer surveys. The Samuel's and Gino's customer questionnaire was designed to gather information on the customers and in relation with the ads that they had viewing. The restaurants had a total of three advertisements that were aired to the public, and we assessed the number of guests, the participants who had viewed the ads. This will relate to the new customers of the restaurant that have actually viewed the ads, and we will be comparing information as far as how it relates to new customers and how and the influence of the ads. Some of the survey details that we would like to cover for better understanding on the data is that we had 29 questions for the customers that dine in at the restaurants. So this did exclude customers that did orders to go. So we were more concerned about the guests that actually dine in at the restaurant. We had a total of 200 customer participants in the survey. And this questionnaire was designed to understand the perceptions and sentiments of Samuel's and Gino's restaurant and how they feel about the ads and if there was any information provided on that. The data was verified and adjusted for inconsistencies. Example, some of the customers did not fully fill out the questionnaire. They said that they did view the ad, but they did not specify which of the three ads they viewed prior to coming to the restaurant. Samuel's and Gino's restaurant, the customer questionnaire, was to collect the data of sentiment and insights of the restaurant customers. Data analysis conducted was with the survey to determine the success of the marketing campaigns of the ads. So marketing campaigns and ads will be used interchangeably during this presentation. So two of the most defining questions that were utilized in order to arrive to the actual data analysis was the first one. Have you seen any advertisement for Samuel and Gino's restaurant in the last 3 months? And also, we utilize how long have you been a customer of Samuel's and Gino's? These two questions are imperative to the actual correlations and the results that we did find while analyzing the data. Samuel's and Gino's restaurant. So this is the customer survey participation. So the survey asked the consumers if they have seen any of the ads, and they were allowed to select which ad they had seen out of the three. So this is going to be the total number based out of the 200 survey takers. So 30% of them said that they viewed ad number one, 33% said they viewed ad number two, and 25% viewed ad number three. Ad number two was more successful, but overall, our team decided is in a consensus that the ads were successful in general, bringing it in at a total of 88% of the customers had viewed the ads. So some of the measurements that we used in order to evaluate the data that was provided to us was so the customer was asked if they had viewed the advertisements, and it was a yes or no answer. So that helped us classify the total of customers that we were interested in. So the participants also gave us an information further of as to which one of the ads they had viewed, whether that was one, two, or three. And that helped solidify that that was valid information because they were able to recognize which one they were they had actually viewed prior to coming to the restaurant. And also we took in the customer longevity. The survey asked them how long they had been visiting the restaurants in months. So the customer was able to give us an actual number of how long they've been a customer of the restaurants. So this data analysis will cover and was focused on the customer surveys, helping us determine if the ads brought in customers to Samuel and Gino's restaurant. We are focused, and that is our hypothesis that we feel, and we want to show evidence with the customer data that the ads have an influence in new customers visiting and dining in at these two restaurants. The analysis of the survey and for questions 21, 22, and 24, which are the ones, the first two that we have covered, did the rest question 21 being, did restaurant customers watch the ads? That was a very important and lucrative question because that helped us identify who watched it. And then further down, if any of those were new customers, this is going to correlate to the new customers in the restaurant. Question number two, it was used to confirmation of the customers actually watching the ad. So this helped us make sure that our information was accurate, and we were able to remove customers that did not watch the ads from the data set and the analysis because we are concerned with finding the correlation between new customers and customers watching the ad as well. Question number two, did question number 24, determine how many customers were new to the restaurant. To determine that, we had to set a parameter of the months that the customer is considered a new customer to Samuel's and Gino's. So our team determined that a new customer would be considered between 1 to 5 months, and that would be the parameter of which we will measure the results of the data set. So the data analysis on quantitative results of the correlation between the customers and how many have seen the ad was very exciting because the customer longevity compared to how many of the customers have seen the ad is at 8.5. So what does that mean? So we were able to take and identify the new customers, and out of the new customers, 8.5 had watched the ads. That is a significant statistical result. And here it shows a little graph on what that means. So, because we set the parameters of who was considered a new customer, that was going to be between the months of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so, 1% of that customer that was in between that 1 and 5% was 1% was 1 month, 2 months was at 0.5%, and 3 months was at 2.5. So the biggest number and impact was seen between the early months of 1 and 2, making up that 72%, 77%, and the 22%. This means that the new customer is watching the ads. And this data set here, data used for predictive overview of the outcome. So we are looking at what are the correlations between the new customers and the ads. So our independent predictor is going to be the new visitors to the restaurant, but our dependent variable is going to be the ad because the ad is running whether it brings in new customers or not. So that will be our dependable variable. The graph um, shows how the ads do have an influence on new incoming customers. So here we could see from our customer survey, um, in the bottom, the longevity of the customer. So how long they've been a customer of the restaurant. And again, the parameter was 1 to 5 months. And we could see a spike right at the beginning where we know that those newcomers, those new guests are viewing the ads, and therefore it correlates as far as assuring that that ad is actually doing its job and bringing in new customers to the restaurant. So the analysis result and correlation is divided a little bit better here. So we asked our guest not only the longevity, but if they had seen that ad. So the category was yes or no. Um, and the 1% customer longevity again showed at 77%. So our newcomers are absolutely watching those ads and those and that marketing campaign. So this is a very clear indicator because less than 1% of newcomers to the restaurants have not seen that. So one 0.5% of the customers that are considered new, only 22 of those newcomers have not seen the ad. So out of that small population of the new restaurant visitors, only 22% of them have not seen the ads. And in return, 77% have seen the ads. So that is a really big percentage. And of course, it correlates to having an influence of how the actual marketing is working for bringing in new customers into the restaurant. So our customer reviews were also asked out of our some of our guests. We asked for written feedback, and only unfortunately only 10 out of 200 provided us that information. So we were able to gather some data, but not enough data that we actually wanted. So from those 10 customers, four customers were identified as new, and some of the feedback, as you can see here, is only been there once with their grandmother, went in for a sandwich and a soda. I've moved here a couple years ago and did not know this place existed. I've never actually been to this area until today. So they didn't give us much more than that. They didn't mention, oh, I saw the ad and I decided to come into the restaurant. It was not a successful approach to know whether the ad had an influence on the consumer in bringing them in. So no correlation was found on the feedback comments. That is something I will discuss a little further in the next couple of slides. So this is somewhat of the outline of how we've come to all of these conclusions, starting with the customer survey. The survey was designed to collect the data and need to know about the customer insights, so whether they watch the ad or not. And also in the comments to see if they mentioned anything about the ads. The ads effectiveness, understand if the ads are being watched at all. And there were three of them to maximize visibility. So we were able to recognize new customers. So new customers were gauged from 1 to 5 months and calculated how many out of the 200 were new. This lead it into the interpretation that data shows that new customers viewed ads, and ads are an effective way of bringing in new customers into the restaurants. So some of the customer trends, I have this question a lot when we do analyze a lot of the data specifically for restaurants. Is the ad worth the money that we are investing in? New customers within 1 to 5 months are only 8.5% of 200 customers. So we do have a small segmentation, but 8.5 is enough and it is lucrative enough to continue to air those ads because it is an effective method of advertising and bringing in those new clients. We have 77% of new customers that have watched the ads. So although it is only 8.5% of the population, 77% of that small segment is watching the ad, and it is correlated to them coming in into the restaurant. Marketing ads reaching potential new customers. So, pattern on ads offering the three ads for maximum visibility. Two out of three viewed was at 60% out of the 200 customers. That is a very important number because we know that it's working. Maybe not as vast and higher than the 8.5%, but it definitely shows in the numbers that this is a good way to promote and ask and get new walk-ins into the restaurant. So the number of visitors, statistically enough, customers viewed the ads to encourage the continuation of marketing ads. So the new customer is recognizing those ads before they come into the restaurant. So some of the restaurant feedback, as I mentioned before, we were not able to get any determination as the ads were not mentioned in the comments. So there's not much in this. However, I do want to mention that I would like to encourage, it's part of my recommendations here, that we ask that customer to maybe let us know if they saw the ad or how they heard about the restaurant. So this would be a really good thing to work for in the future. So my recommendation for Samuel's and Gino's is going to be a 3-month analysis. So I would recommend continuing this, not only the marketing campaign, but also data analysis. So you could see whether this is going to be lucrative for your restaurants. So I would recommend doing a collection of data for 3 months, then bringing that data back to us so we could analyze and continue to know whether it's working. And of course, within those 3 months, continue to run the ads and ask the customers for their surveys and for their feedback. Look at the percentage of customers, and also I would suggest setting a benchmark of if the goal that exceeds 5%, this would be something to continue doing every 3 months. As the last 3 months, we saw an increment of 8.5 new customers. So this would be something to absolutely implement in your marketing and also in your forecasting as we continue working together and assuring that these marketing campaigns are successful. Um, and some of the considerations I do want to discuss for the restaurant as we continue to work together is that we make sure that the data that we gather is not only accurate, but also that we are respecting the customer's privacy. It is really nice for the employees to encourage customers to take the survey and give us our feedback, but they should not be harassed to get that information. So it's something that is extremely instrumental for us, but in no way, shape, or form we want to bother the customer to give us that feedback. And also, if there is any questions on what we will be utilizing that data for, the customer does have full rights to know what they're being used for and for them to know that there's no actual identifiers as far as their identity or personal information, as we are not taking down any of that. We are just interested in knowing what their experience is like. And we're also interested in knowing if they watch the ads, but more specifically for us, how many of our customers are new? How many new people are we attending to at the restaurants? So, this does help eliminate bias when it comes to gathering data and information because we don't want to force anyone to give us any information. So I think that's very important to communicate and also communicate to your teams at your locations. And thank you again so much for your time and have a good day.